Hey folks, how are we? Back for another episode of Fine Things Refreshed.
Hi. Hi, everyone.
It's
How's it?
a little bit of a snafu last week. Everybody is human, right? We got sort of sidetracked with some really exciting projects from clients, and unfortunately, we did not stick to our regular scheduled time. But nevertheless, we are back and excited to be here for episode 15. There's a
Yes.
furry coworker.
Hi, Jade
Um,
Elizabeth.
But we have some really interesting topics, or I guess an interesting topic, one that's interesting, but also what extremely challenging. Yeah, Mom.
Yeah.
Um, and we want to continue with our normal scheduled program, which is, of course, doing a company value, things that we really hold near and dear to our hearts here at Yazo is leadership. So we want to talk a little bit about that and an aspect of leadership, and then also diving into the topic of navigating meta, which, as we said, is extremely challenging in today's ever evolving landscape, I should say, that Facebook and or Meta provides. And then last but not least, we want to do a little bit of a FineThings shout out. So, Mom, why don't you kick us off with our leadership um, sort of company value for
Yeah.
episode 15?
So, our company value that we've been talking about this month at Yazoo is listening. And, obviously, as a mother son business, we have to probably remember that just as much, if not more than anyone in business, because we um, obviously have a relationship of co-workers, co-owners of a business, but then mother son too. And we don't always do the best job, just being transparent,
Yeah,
of listening. And so for us, listening is super important in two ways. One is obviously the leadership category, family category, where it's about not talking over each other. It's about not just listening, but listening to understand and comprehend what that person's saying, not listening just to think about your response and that you're right, but what is that person trying to communicate to you? Because communication, even if you look at it from the value, it's certainly a Christian value, but we have to listen to communicate because that's where a lot of misunderstandings start. So we look at that with each other, with our consultants that work on our team, which are really one of the most valued things about our team is our consultants, and then our clients, obviously, and then any partners we might have. So a lot of times, just by proper listening and proper communication, you can solve issues that might end up with you either losing a client or losing a friend or losing a consultant just by actually taking the time to listen to what they're trying to say. And then the
yeah,
second
so
thing
true.
that, I just want to say one short thing about is also listening in a marketing strategy, from the perspective of marketing strategy, because so many times we miss, it's easy to miss things. And when you're building a marketing strategy, it's really important to listen to what the customer is saying, listen to what the client is saying about what they want to communicate to the public.
Mhm.
So we're just reminding each other this month, nothing too serious, but just reminding each other, Eli and I, to listen, to do a good job of listening. Eli, you're frozen there.
Did I
There you
lose
are.
you? Sorry about that. No, and I think you're spot on, Mom. I mean, it's such a crucial part of running a small business, which is the majority of our clients is that SMB world, right? It's really about and some of those folks are longtime friends and or family members. So you introduce some really interesting interpersonal relationships
Yep.
into business, which you know is a blessing, but it's also can be sometimes, I don't want to say a curse, but it can be a curse if you let it impede on your business relationship. I think that's really, a really important aspect that we're so blessed to have a family business. And I'm so extremely blessed to be able to work with my mother and, of course, the Austins and have my dad and be exposed to that. But there are a lot of times where you're personal relationship gets in the way of taking feedback or giving feedback or finding the right time and place to give feedback. So all of those things are, really fundamental in driving a successful business,
Mhm.
and being able to, communicate. I think is something that we all take for granted today, right? Because you're always in constant communication, and sometimes, in fact, overstimulated with communication, right? You have the device that you and I are both talking on now. You have the social media, you have email, you have billboards, TV, radio. Now we're talking about VR. That's all, some form of communication. So I think picking your time and place and making sure that you let people know that you're listening to them it is as important than anything in business. So that's our company value, sort of our leadership cornerstone, if you will, is building communication and not just the talking piece, right? It's the listening piece. Communication is a two-way street, so you have to be able to do both to be effective.
Yep.
But let's let's shift gears and go into something a little bit more marketing focused, which I guess you could say is exciting, but it's also extremely challenging. This is a request that we get. I mean, geez, how often from clients? Um, can you just help me figure out where I'm going in Meta? I mean, that is just something that we find more and more because the user interface, the capabilities, the name Facebook, it's no longer Facebook, it's Meta. All of these things are changing and changing quite quickly, and I don't see an end to that. So let's just kind of kick things off with, I guess, an overview of what it means to navigate Meta.
Yeah. So I think we want to, obviously we'll probably do more of these, but we'll start pretty basic today. And number one thing that we're telling people is to just get started using Meta.
So
And there's like 2 or 3 tips we're giving. And if you're a small business and you're not doing this, or even you're a large business and you're one of the admin on your company pages, it's important to understand Meta and what's going on in Meta, right? So there's a couple tips that we start with, and one is actually just use it. Like, we really want you to use it, and that means getting in there, clicking on Meta, making sure that you've connected your pages so you can connect. And this is one of the first things we tell people: go in there and connect your Instagram and your Facebook page in Meta, right? Now, we realize a lot of companies may already be using another scheduling tool. But for those that are not, Meta has provided a scheduling tool for you. So you can go right in there and you can post your content on a calendar, on a scheduling tool in Meta to both Facebook and Instagram. And
yep,
it's really nice because Meta also houses your data. So this is where you're going to learn a lot about the success of what you're doing on Facebook. Um, and you can edit your posts from Meta as well. So that's like step number one, is like, go in there and just get familiar that it's in there, right? Make sure your pages are connected, and then begin to publish some content right there from Meta. And it's really awesome because it will allow you to customize your Instagram content versus your Facebook content. So you can change the way that you're writing for Instagram versus Facebook if you prefer to do that, right? So that's step number one. And then, or that's actually a couple steps in there. And I'm not going to like sugarcoat this. There are things that happen along the way. For example, people will not know how to get into their Facebook pages. They can't find their, usernames. It's just a lot of that. So, that goes back to some initial things that we tell people when we start to work with them, is don't let people that aren't your core team create your pages and have your full access, because if you stop working with them, you lose access to things, right? So that's part
yep,
of navigating this whole world now too, is really creating processes and procedures that you can manage your usernames and your passwords, right? So that's that. Um, and then Meta is the whole world of advertising. So you can run your Instagram ads, your Facebook ads right in Meta. And it's really, it has upped the game a little bit for the small business client that is used to going in and doing boosts. It allows you to do more in there if you are going to use the insights. It allows you to learn about things that maybe your only an ad manager really talked to you about before.
Yep.
Like we're working with a very small business right now who would normally not do funneled ads, where they would hire an ad manager, probably because of budgeting, right? But we're able to go into Meta and see that their ad is still in learning phase, which means that page hasn't been active for a long time. We're running an ad on it, and it's learning about who's reading their ads. It's learning about who's clicking through.
Yeah.
This is not a miracle that happens overnight. Meta allows you to navigate that, right? And to learn a lot. What else I tell people is very nice about Meta is that Meta itself gives you like an introduction to advertising
Yep.
that you can take the time to go out and read and learn. It gives you an introduction to Facebook ads. It gives you an introduction to Instagram ads. I can run an ad on both platforms at the same time. I can build my audience there. I can save my audience so that I don't have to rebuild it every time that I come in. Now, there are things, and this is the last thing I'll say, Eli, and I'll turn it over to you. The one positive is that there's inspiration on Meta. So I can go in there and I can follow maybe companies like one of my clients, and I can learn from that. I think that's really brilliant, and that we should always be doing that because, we're learning creatively from competition. And I think that's fantastic. But there are certainly little things, like there are hassles because with Meta, you need support for some things. So if you are having issues, you can't find your passwords, you have more than one page, you have no idea how to get into your page. Like, these are things where it's for the very small business owner. We have, for example, a Meta rep, and sometimes that Meta rep can't even answer our questions. We have an ad consultant that we work with regularly that does a lot with Meta, and even she has to have the delay of the process to go through these requests. When you think about it, there are hundreds of thousands, and that's not even the right number, of small ads and small businesses running on this platform. So it really is a little universe in and of itself. And there are things like that you just cannot get impatient about.
And I think you've nailed a lot of what we, discuss internally, right? Which is a big piece of why we wanted to have this initial sort of episode focus on navigating Meta, which we will do. To Angie's point, we'll do more of these, and they'll be a bit more focused, on specific things within Meta and the Meta Business Suite. But to Angie's point, getting involved and getting familiar with the platform is always the recommended first step. And I'm probably the first person here that's the biggest, I say it all the time. You should be using the platforms. You should be, I know you're a small business. You have a lot of responsibilities. It's hard to carve out the time, but you really need to do that, because the way in which these platforms work and the way in which they're evolving is, if you take time off from not getting in and interacting or experiencing the platform, it may look totally 180 different than the last time that you logged in. That in itself will cause frustration. Will basically, for a lot of our clients, they'll just log back out because they don't even know where to start. So Angie, the point at the very beginning, Mom, is, getting in and getting started, I think, is the biggest thing that I can tell folks in terms of navigating Meta. Don't even go in with a purpose. Just go in to understand, click around, find yourself in areas, and explore.
And I will say one more tip. In their free lessons, there's free lessons on Meta. And I know I've talked to someone who's pretty good on Facebook, doesn't really need the Meta help, didn't realize that there were some free lessons. There's one on like building your creative content right from Facebook. There's one on building your audience. These are free lessons. Now, if you are a marketing professional or you're the marketing professional for your company, or you're a small consultant agency, you can actually get a meta certification too. I'm not, and we'll talk about that a little bit on future, but like the information is there and it is well done. So you just have to be willing to take the time to take these online courses, right? And I would encourage you, if you're a student still, if you're like working but you're in school, to do this because it's going to look fantastic on your resume.
Yeah, I would absolutely agree 100%. And this is, again, it's these little certifications, these platforms. As a marketing professional, you're going to need to be a strong user. When you look at the future of marketing, you have to understand these social platforms, and these certifications are going to be key to you being able to get through and navigate them, efficiently, and making sure that you have the best use of the platform, understanding the data. So I know that there's a frustration when we talk about Facebook, and if you guys have or you're in that spot right now, feel free to reach out to us, drop us a note, send us a message. We're happy to leverage our meta rep. Again, to Angie's point, I can't promise that we will be able to get the exact answers or be able to do it in the snap of the fingers. But we are happy to help you guys because we understand. And just like you, many of us, many of you, we've been frustrated too. You go in and you're so used to a process. You feel like you can get things done, you have things saved, and you get in, and the platform just looks totally different. I mean, for example, we have a number of folks that are going from the classic page manager now, and they're navigating to this new Meta Business Suite, and they don't even understand how to get in on the back end anymore because it's totally different the way that you access it.
Yeah.
So don't feel like you're out on a lonely island. We go through this process regularly, if not quarterly, with some of our clients, just getting in, making sure that everybody's comfortable. They understand how to access the admin. They
Yep.
understand how to access Meta Business Suite. Again, it sounds so simple, but it is the most important piece because they always say you can't teach an old dog new tricks. Well, nowadays old dogs are becoming old real fast because it's changing overnight. So it's just important to stay in the loop. And again, if you're frustrated, let us know because we're happy to help you. And this is an area that we feel is important for small and mid-sized businesses to be comfortable in because it is your avenue for marketing. It's the social media is today's real marketing platform. So if you have questions, feel free to drop us a note. But let's change gears here, Mom, and go to our FineThings shout out, something that obviously is super close to us from a family perspective. But I'll let you kick this thing off because I'm going to go back up to the office area here so I can get the URL ready to throw it at the bottom of the screen for anybody that's interested.
Okay. So we have had the privilege, I think, over the last, this is like what, our 8th year in business, I think. But we've had the opportunity to rep an author at one point and some artists. And so we're shouting out an artist today, which is Kenny Faith Art, and who's also a family member of ours. But we've been talking to him. He was a guest on one of our clients' podcasts just because he's such a creative. And the piece of art that you're seeing behind me is, I'll kind of show that there, is a Kenny Faith original. And so we just love shouting him out. If you're a person who likes abstract, who likes color, which colors back in for 2023, which I love, who just really wants a piece designed specific to your home. He is a large scale. He does a lot of large scale art. So you can, and he is very, he has a master's in fine art from the Brooklyn College of the Arts, very classic, very trained, and very talented creative. So I know that he did a very large piece for me, just where I showed him a pillow that was an inspiration for a room, and he did a very large piece for me off of that. So we've held a show for him in the past, and it was very successful in Altoona, and we're we're just still happy to support him as an agency. So just he's our FineThings shout out for the day. Eli, if you want to add anything.
Yeah, no, so I just threw at the bottom here, you'll see it going across or scrolling across the ticker is kennyfaithart.com. So if you're interested in any pieces or learning more about who Kenny Faith is and sort of his background as an artist, I would, encourage you to check out his website, take a look at some things that he has there. But Mom, to your point, if you're looking for a commission piece, if you're looking for a one-of-one, he's your guy. He's happy to work with you to come up with a style that you're really looking to achieve, as you can tell by the piece behind Angie. It really is sort of that abstract style, but if you take a look at his other work, he really has the ability to blend some of that realism with a little bit of abstract, and also taking into account what it is that you're looking to achieve with your piece of art. What are the emotions that you really want to feel and pull out? Are there colors? Are there other areas of influence may tie or bring a piece together? So he's your man when you want to have those conversations. And to your point as well, he was a guest on Atlas Furniture's podcast. So
Yep.
he's got a great eye for design, and that can impact not obviously art, but how is your room set up? Do you want to play with a particular piece of art, and how do you bring that piece of art out in a room? Looking at, believe the topic that you guys were talking about was, the colors and the introduction of art and how you work bottom up.
Yep.
When you talk about setting a room. So he has that understanding and that influence. So just excited to shout him out. He's obviously family. He's a cousin. He's your nephew. But beyond that, he's an incredible artist. And if you have any interest at all, check him out, kennyfaithart.com. But that wraps up episode 15. We appreciate you guys, as always, tuning in. Without y'all, we wouldn't be here. So we're going to go ahead and pin this episode. Go back, watch it again. If you have questions about navigating meta, let us know. If there's a particular topic, question, or area of interest within the metaverse and navigating meta, the Meta Business Suite, let us know. We're going to be doing future episodes about this. So we appreciate you all more than anything. Thank you for sticking with us. I know that we had a little snafu on scheduling, but we will be back at it. We'll probably have another episode here this month before we get into the Memorial Day. But have a wonderful Mother's Day to all the mothers out there. Love you, Mom, and thank you for being an amazing partner with you. But happy Wednesday, y'all. We'll catch you soon. Dive on
Remember to listen this week.
And open up those ears. Listen, y'all. We appreciate you. Bye, everybody.